Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Lisa Weaver and I serve on the Executive Committee of the Hymn Society as a member at large. I also want to extend warm greetings for you who are joining us virtually and online and extend a hearty welcome. Our presenter for this session is the Reverend Dr. Eric Sarwar, who earned his PhD in Intercultural Studies at the Fuller Theological Seminary. Dr. Sarwar is called to serve as a musician, minister, and missiologist in the global context. He is also a the founding president, of Tehillim School of Church Music and Worship, Pakistan, and is currently serving as lead pastor of Artesia Indo-Pak Church in Southern California. More of his bio can be found online underneath the annual conference leadership bios. And so now, Reverend Dr. Eric Sarwar will speak to us on the following topic: Sur-Sangam and Punjabi Zabur, Psalm 24, verses 7 through 10, Messianic and Missiological perspectives in the Indian subcontinent. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sarwar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lisa, and it's indeed my pleasure that I'm here as a presenter at the Hymn Society, where I came in 2014 as a Lovelace Scholar. So 2015 Lovelace Scholar. So thanks to the donors and to the planners inviting me, and now here after 8 years, now I'm here presenting this paper to you, or this presentation. So let's dive in and see what God has stored in that part of the world, which this part of the world need to listen and understand what is God's Spirit doing in the other parts of the world. So probably if we move to the first slide, and then we will start our... Okay, wonderful. I would like to invite you, let's start this session with the liturgy of the Psalm 24, 7 verses 10. So the bold part is your, and the last through 2 line is also congregation. So let's join me. Lift up your heads, O gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in.
Who is this King of glory?
The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O gates, and lift them up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. And all? Who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts, he is the King of glory. Next slide, please. So before going to the theological framework and something missiological and messianic academic perspective, why not let's dwell in the tune and listen what is this tune about. So this is today I will be talking about actually 2 tunes of the Psalm 24 from Pakistani context. Same verses, 2 versions. One is traditional, one is contemporary. So we are starting with the contemporary sound. And I'm really thankful to Brian for playing drum with us, and Tom, and Emmanuel, and Nitya, yes, Nitya. So would you please join me, and we will sing this part. So for the congregation and you guys, you can read this word. So let's acquainted with the terminology. If you see, this is word Badshah. Can you say that? So Badshah in Urdu language and in Punjabi and in Hindi is for king. So Badshah, Badshah, Badshah 4 times, and then English translation is he is king, he is king, he is king. And then the second line is, if you are able to read that, otherwise you can sing on the English line. The second line phrase is Rab Khudawand Badshah hai, O Jalal da Badshah hai. Can you say that? Khudawand Badshah hai, O Jalal da And the translation is, God our Lord is King of glory. God is King of glory. So we will start with the ostinato rhythm pattern, and you can join us by clapping. Oh. Oh, yes, now. Let's do it. Start it again with Badshah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Badshah, 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 Badshah. Once again. He is king. 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 Once again, everyone, English. King. He is king. He is king. He is king. Rab Khudavand Badshah hai. O Jalal da Badshah hai. God is King of glory. He is King of glory. Rab Khudavand Badshah hai. O Jalal da Badshah. God our Lord. God our Lord is King of
glory. God is King of glory.
Everyone, Badshah. Badshah.
Badshah, Badshah, Badshah,
Badshah, Badshah, Badshah. Great, thank you. So this is the introduction and the refrain of the contemporary tune of the Psalm 24, 7 to 10. And it will go, the refrain will come when we will start again with when we come to the contemporary tune. Well, thank you very much. Please have a seat. So you have seen that this is kind of a melodic structure which is most popular in contemporary, but we also have a traditional tune. But before going to that, let's go and find out what is music culture and what we are going to talk about today through these two traditional tunes. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So why we need to learn about the Indian subcontinent? So I have found out 3-dimension, 3D. And what is this? Number one is demographic. Recently, BBC published their news, and what they are saying, more than half the growth we will see in the next 30 years will happen in just 8 countries. And who are these 8 countries? The Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, and Tanzania. So you have seen there is not a single Western country added in that growth. Why we need to focus on this coming 30 years? That will help us to navigate where we need to go in the next 30 years. Doxological. Second reason is doxological. Recently, the revival of singing, praying, preaching, and reading psalms is gaining momentum in the subcontinent diaspora and local context. So youngsters, with the rise of media and during the pandemic, lots of you have seen that myriads of videos, they are there. This surge around the world, and Pakistan is one of the most largest Christian worship song producing in the Indian subcontinent. Number 3, decolonizing, which we were talking about. Yesterday, our panelists were struggling actually how to deal with the decolonizing and what's happening, and how the Western invasion with the music or culture or dress or language or whatever have been come to there. But if they know or if they explore India at that time, British India, including Pakistan and India, was the only case study where local music was so powerful, so deep, and so engrounded that whole Western mission enterprise invasion failed in India. And they have to appoint local musician, local songwriters, local producer, everything localized century ago, not today. Century ago. So the localization, which now we are talking about decolonizing and localization and local music and congregational singing in a local sound, that has been already happened century ago in Indian subcontinent. Next one. So what are the questions we are dealing today? So we are talking three questions. How does the local raga-based music setting of Psalm 24, 7-10 become associated with Christian identity, not only in Islamic context, because I'm talking about Indian subcontinent, which is also Buddhist, which is also Hindu, which is also Muslim, because I'm from Pakistan, so I will be framing and narrowing down to Muslim context. Islamic context, then, how does Psalm 24 strengthen the faith of marginalized church and broaden Messianic hope? That is because Pakistani Christianity is only 3%, 97% Muslim extremist country. So how we have a Messianic hope when the congregation engage singing this psalm. And number three is, in what ways does Psalm 24:7 equip local Christians for missional engagement also? So these are the three critical questions I will try to address through this conversation and through this presentation. Next slide, please. Now, so the focus of this section is the convergence of the local raga-based musical concept of Sur-Sangam. Sur means musical note, a note, which is called Sur in Hindi. And Sangam is a confluence of two rivers. How a music and a text, they confluence together in a local understanding. So that would be concept of Sur-Sangam and the revealed text of Psalm and Zabur 24. Then it argues that white poetic translation text in Punjabi vernacular remains a vital component of theological pedagogy. So, I will talk later, that the primary purpose of the Psalter was not a musical production. It was primarily have a theological education for the first generational converts from outcast Dalit or the marginalized Hindus. So that's why the purpose was not a musical production, it was a pedagogical, theological, educational purpose. And also, local music expresses the emotional voice that reassures of the Messianic hope and mandates missional engagement. Sometimes we try to find out missional engagement mostly from the New Testament or from the Gospels or from the book of Acts. But actually, Acts and Gospels adopted missional engagement from the book of Psalms. That's my claim, actually, and I can defend that, by the way. Okay, now, number three, examining the text and tune of Punjabi Zabur, both traditional and contemporary, in the Indo-Pak context may stretch the spectrum of religious repertoire in the contemporary intercultural world. So these three areas I will be addressing. Now, let's start with what is local, and how we can locate the local music in that context. Our friend Monique Ingle was here. She left yesterday, and I had a wonderful conversation with her. Her book came out on the localization music, and she talked about musical localization with the other helpful authors. And as a helpful category, they find out because of the way Christian communities take a variety of musical practices, and quote, make them locally meaningful in the composition of Christian beliefs, theology, practice, and identity. So in this way, the Indian music concepts have a different perspective than the Western musical concepts. For instance, a quote from the Garland Encyclopedia of Global Music. It says, The ancient Hindu doctrine has the 4 goals of life: righteous, which is dharma; material gain, artha; pleasure, karma; and liberation, moksha. But liberation and spiritual release is the ultimate purpose of music. So, what does local music look like? As we have just in the first piece only, when we will sing the second piece, the traditional tune, you will have more idea what I'm talking about. Now, so the characteristics are the, what I would say that the composition of Indic music is not only a one cultural source, it is a hybrid production. And how's that? So the hybridity of the Hindu bhakti means devotional. Bhagat means a person who's devotee, who's more like a religious person, spiritual seeker actually. A bhagat is a bhakti, and a Muslim Sufism, mysticism. So that was the hybrid religious and cultural system. So bhakti music is ideology in which a human love relationship is the metaphor for the relationship with God. So that is the hybridity of that culture. Next slide, please. Okay, now, so those who are ethnomusicologists and those who know the music terminologies, so what is the Indic music culture? So Indic music culture is divided into 2 categories. There, one is classical, other one is general, social, or non-classical genre. So when we talk about the Indic music culture, so it is the interaction, as I mentioned earlier, Hindu bhakti and Muslim Sufism, and then interaction between the ragas. I will explain what is ragas and raganis. In India, then 12 maqam system in the Middle East. That's the maqam system. And Central Asian Persian dastgah music. So these are 3 different regions which collide with each other in the Indic musicology. Yesterday we had a we have a Latin brothers and sisters, and those who are ethnomusicologists and those who know these cultural crossing cultures, they can identify easily that how Spanish music influenced by the Arabs. When Spain was under the Arab rule for more than 300, 400 years. That's how these maqam style and the tone and the melodic structures of the Middle Eastern music emerged with the Spanish music. So, Persian dastgah music has produced very fruitful results and achieved a distinctive synthesis in the local music. Now, so classical raga was totally limited or were heard only in royal courts. That's why in our introduction piece of music, you have seen that it's a concept of a badshah, kingship, courtroom, and the huge kind of a kingdom where king is entering through the doors and through the gates, and then the people are welcoming and they are engaging in this whole welcome. So heard only in the courts and temples, because they thought that these 2 are only belong to the higher people, hierarchy. It is not for the common people. So what then for the common people? For the common people, the social aspect of music entertained elites, while sacred music engaged ordinary people in the Indian subcontinent spirituality. So that was the different purpose of both social streams. In the court, royal court, it was more for entertainment, for the court, for the royalty, for spending time, while the same music, when it comes to the temples, for the common folks, it lead them to spirituality. So that was the 2 different aspects. Next slide, please. So that leads us to what is the aesthetic theory, what is the aesthetic concept in the Indian music or the Indian art. So you have seen that how when we locate the local music and then we enter with what are the music culture, and from that music culture, it will help us now to navigate the aesthetic sense and what are these. So the history or the theory of aesthetic emotion. So mostly music expressed in that culture mostly for the emotional expression, whether it's a social, whether it's emotional, whether it's a romantic, whether it's a liberal or literal, whatever domain we are entering, it expresses mostly human emotions connected with that. So that's why the rasa or the ras or the sap, juice of the tree, that's a theory, ras they call it, or bhavana. Bhavana is a Hindi word for emotions. So bhavana, expression of the sangeet is the music, signifies a continuous current of emotion. So it's an emotional expression. So that's why the earliest treatise of Indic musicology describe 8 primary moods, human emotional expressions, or ras, emotive expression of the Indian sangeet. Later, peace was, as we're talking about the world, imagine we want peace, in the world. So later, the peace was also enlisted in the 9th ras, known as the Navrasa, 9 mood of art, 9 mood of music. However, scholars find out that the first 4 and the 9th shades of emotions in the ragas or the music. So you can see the list of emotions, 9 emotions. What are these? So karuna, sadness, pathos, veera, heroism, valor, hasya, laughter, comedy, rudra, anger, bhayankar, fear, vibhasa, disgust, abhuta, surprise, awesome, which we call, shanti, which is comfort, peace, and shinghar, adornment, beauty, and the majesty. So these are the Navrasa aesthetic theory in that context. Next slide, please. So what is rag then? Rag is just like, if you are a music student, you know the Greek modes, Dorian, Phrygian, and all these Greek modes. So this is like a Greek mode, but with a different flavor, with a different understanding. So rag, this is raga wheel. So it is mostly they call it rag rang. They say that the music has a special flavor, special color, which bring color to the life. So that's why they say that the rag bring color into the canvas of our emotional life. So that's the idea of rag rang. That's the rang, spreading the color of music. So flavor. Now, how the Western mind can understand raga? So one Dutch scholar, Joel, his name was Boer, and they produce in Netherlands, they have a whole conservatory of Indian music. So they publish their research in how they define raga. So they are saying, broadly speaking, a raga can be regarded as a tonal framework for composition and improvisation. That's why raga, you cannot find it on a page. You cannot define a right raga on a page. My friends, while they were practicing here with me, they said, well, we can't go what is written and what I'm singing. I am singing from my traditional way, which I have learned by memory, never on the page. Always improvising, always going what I can add into that. So, or a dynamical musical entity with a unique form embodying a unique musical idea. As well as the fixed scale, there are features particular to each raga, such as the order and hierarchy of its tones, their manner of intonation and ornamentation, their relative strength and duration, a specific approach where ragas have identical scale, they are differentiated by virtue of these musical characteristics. It's unexplainable, in short. You can only feel it, you can only emotionally understand it, okay, connect it, okay, what is this going on? So the embodiment of raga is a technical term, a collection of notes, a scale, intonation, ornaments, resting or pillar tones, and so on, including spiritual experience and connection. Let me give you one example over there of a noon raga. We are at the afternoon time. So the Indian ragas are divided into 24/7 time zone with the seasons also. There are rain ragas, there are monsoon ragas, there are various kind of. So because we are now at the afternoon time, so I will give you just one tone of a raga which is afternoon. Can I go to piano? Piano. Where should I go? Because I don't want to mess up.
Oh, I see. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So this is afternoon raga, and each raga has a name. This is afternoon. So mostly passion songs which focus on Christ's passion of the crucifixion. They compose on this raga. And why they compose? Because what was the time when Jesus was hanged on the cross? Noontime. So that's why Indic musicology contextualized that one, and they only take mostly that raga which focus on the same time which happened 2,000 years ago with this raga. Okay, so next slide, please. So while this is a whole idea over there, so how that ragas produce religious repertoire that will lead us to a Punjabi Psalter. So in the context of Hindu spirituality, spiritual expression, music is one of the vehicles that transports devotees from a state of being that interacts with the natural world to one of engaging the supernatural. So in contrast to Western music, where we are in this context, which aims to generally, it's Italo, by the way, Italo found that contrast in his book, and what he says, which aims to conquer nature, Indian music aspires to the harmony of nature and man. So you see the different understanding, different approach to the music. And then ragas are classified into the following two, which is a technical term in Hindi, Prakriti, which means nature, and categories, nature categories, which is Gambhir. Gambhir is more severe, more like a more solemn. And Chanchal means more light, more bright. These are two different nature of these ragas. So the Gambhir nature of raga is related to bhakti. That's why when we enter with the devotional or religious life, that is more you are entering to a space where you should be solemn, you should be respectful, and you should be in the front of a deity which is beyond your understanding. So that's why you enter with the proper mind, soul, and body where you are engaging. So that's why music helps them. Mostly you have seen when we have, if I would have an Indian harmonium with me here, I would not stand, I would sit, crossing my leg and having harmonium in front of me. So that's the cultural style where your body engage with the earth. That is where you are wholly there, with the whole your mind and body and soul, you are engaging there. So the bhakti or the worship movement in the 15th century to the 16th century produced myriads of bhajans, kirtan, and Sufi songs. So bhajans are Hindus, which they called Hindu bhajans, they sing. And the kirtans are for Sikh, turban people with Punjabi Sikhs. And Sufis for the Muslims. So you can see that before the arrival of the Western mission, so Indian music culture has already rich and enormous religious and devotional repertoire was already there. So in this way, next slide, please. In this way, when the Western missionaries, when especially the Church Mission Society, CMS, the Scottish Society, and then the Presbyterians from the North America, when they came to Indian subcontinent around the mid of the 19th century, so they tried to attempt it as the other parts of the world, bringing their own Western melodies, hymns, and songs, but that failed there. Because it was so soaking with the local ragas and music and the tunes and the bhaktis and the bhajans and everything was there. So that's they realized, our Western music will not work here. We have to change and adopt the locals, what's happening there. So that's what's happened. So the Methodist Mission produced repertoire on the styles of rhyme peculiar to Urdu, and North American Presbyterians in Punjab published Geet Ki Kitab, which is a book of songs, and Punjabi Zabur, which we call Desi Raga. Desi means local ragas. The hymn book contained only the lyrics of the hymn, the bhajans, ghazals, and Sunday school song in the Christian tradition of India. So that was the observation of one of the scholars. Anyway, so Punjabi Psalter. What is the importance of Punjabi Psalter? We are singing Punjabi Psalm now. Okay. The use of the Punjabi Psalm is a process that is, as I mentioned earlier, dialectical, synthetic, and hybrid rather than one limited to appropriation and indigenization. Then, the first Punjabi Psalms was introduced to the Western world. That's interesting. I was sharing lunch with Aitholo, and I was telling him that I'm quoting you a couple of times. So, brought by the D.T. Nile. The Nile, he used the melody of Punjabi Psalm 145, which is Meherban, Meherban, Meherban. And I find out the same tune in the Lift Up Your Heart when I was at Calvin. And I said, wow, well, this is I grown up with this melody, what it's doing in the Lift Up Your Hearts. Then I directly go to the end note, and what is this? And I find out that tune, copied by D.T. Nile, he brought to the Western world. And then the Jeff Weaver, who was the member of the Royal School of Church Music, England, he brought that one and he written. And then the Itholo also published that one. So you can see that how that traveled from Punjabi Psalter within a century span of time, and it comes out to the Western. Would you like to listen? What is that melody? Okay. So in the Lift Up Your Heart, it is under the name of Sharanam, 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 which they sing actually, by the way, Sarenam, Sarenam. That's a wrong pronunciation. So Sharanam and Sharanam, D.T. Nile translated Meherban, Meherban into Sharanam in the Tamil language. Sharanam means I come into your protection. I come into your Sharan. I come into your as a refugee for help. But the Meherban is a direct translation of Psalm 145, that he is gracious. He is merciful. So that's the original tune. Nihayat hai Rahim Khuda, Meherban, 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 Odhi Mahu Seve Sada. Can you see these three words? Meherban, Meherban, Meherban. Can you sing that? Okay. Meherban, Meherban, Meherban. And lift up your heart, use Saranam, Saranam, Saranam. So you can see that, how that melodies cross culture. And last night I was meeting Victor, our composer, performer last night, and I was telling him you use Hebrew traditional melody, which is also part of a Israelite anthem, They sing one piece, which has an Israeli national anthem melody. And you will be surprised, the same melody used by a Bollywood musician, Bollywood music producer, for one of the patriotic song for his movie. And he copied that same Israeli anthem into the Indian Bollywood song. You can see that, how these things moving, how they are crossing cultures. Anyway, so Law states, Ito Law states, about this psalm singing. Psalm singing has been very strong in the history of Pakistani churches. And most of these texts were not to traditional or folk melodies. These points to the possibility of a huge repertoire of contextualized psalmody in Pakistan that awaits further investigation. That's what I am doing. So when I read Italo, I said, well, I never meet Italo, but that's how God's Spirit works. That's how God's Spirit motivates people, and they connect them. I met Italo first time in 2013 at Calvin Symposium, and I still remember. Well, I was sitting here, did we met at Calvin? I said, yes, we met at Calvin 9 years ago. So that's interesting. So now, by the way, if you, next slide, where we are, Punjabi Psalm, yes. So if you really want to find out the whole Punjabi Psalter with the Western notation, a century old, because today what we are singing, the current generation, they are not singing the whole Psalter with the traditional tunes. They have their own tunes also. But however, that is the history, and that is available at the tehleempakistan.com resources. Tehleem is the same school which I established 19 years ago, and we are building our resources and producing lots of things. So this whole book is available now in a digital form, free downloadable, if you really want to see what's Punjabi Psalter are. So anyway, so Emily Brink was here. So she went to Pakistan on my invitation in 2015 also, earlier 2009. And what she said about Punjabi Psalm, when she heard Psalms in Pakistan, she said, North America is a literate culture, and we use musical notation in hymnals, but most Pakistani Christians are illiterate and sing by rote, by the memory. You see that I need to do anything with the music. I don't need page or a paper. It's everything here. That is, whenever I need to perform, I need to sing. Only I need a lyric or text if I need to sing, but rest of all, it's all memorized. Okay, thus in translation, the psalm into lyrical Punjabi is similar to translating from Hebrew into metrical. Now you can see that how close they were with the Hebrew original language. The reason we have a leverage, because in Urdu language or Punjabi, we use Persian and Arabic, which are Semitic language, the sister language of the Hebrew. So for us, easy to learn Hebrew compared to Greek. So that's why Jamison observed in 1958, he says, that translating the psalm into lyrical Punjabi, similar to translating from Hebrew into metrical English. The primary aim was the literal rendition of the meaning, while poetical form was of a minor concern. So that's interesting part of the Punjabi Psalter. Next slide, please. Now here we are. So you can see that Urdu written, Punjabi written, and the book of Psalm. And then there's a translation, lift up your heads, lift up your heart. And then that's interesting. We are talking about crossing culture peace, not only with the ecumenically, but also with the interreligious sphere. Century ago, Punjabi Psalter is a project and a product of an interfaith collaboration. A Muslim Shia convert, Imam Deen Shahbaz, a poet, he translated into lyrical poetry the whole 150 Psalms, which become 405, parts by parts. And then a Hindu musician composed the traditional melodies under the North American Mission Committee. So you can see that at that time it was globalized, interreligious product in the last quarter of the 19th century. So, Pakistan's sacred soundscape is multivalent. Nevertheless, devotional and emotive aspects are dominant in the Indic music. You can relate that one with the aesthetic music theory, how the emotions are dominant, whether it's a devotion or not. So, the inclusion of this mixed Indic sound and psalm text as sacred scripture creates Sur-Sangam combined art, poetical and musical, to open doors for identity, Messianic kingdom, and missional engagement. So, let's sing the traditional tune of the Punjabi Psalm. What is the traditional tune? And then I'll unpack few words. Please do let me know how much time I have, okay? So, let's sing Rab Khudawand. You can see, can you read that one, English on that side? Can we focus that one? The right English? English? Yes. So let's sing the traditional Punjabi Psalm 72. So can we read that first line on the refrain? Rab Khudawand Badshah hai, O Jalal da Badshah hai. And the English is, God our Lord is King of glory. He is King of glory. रब खुदावंद बादशाह है ओ जलाल दा बादशाह है. Can we sing in Punjabi? रब बादशाह है ओ जलाल दा बादशाह है. English, God our Lord is King of glory. He is King of glory. Again, Lord is King of glory. He is King of glory. I will sing first line in Punjabi and then you can sing the same tune in English. Uche karo. ऊंचे करो सिर दरवाजे ऊंचे हो सब दरो. Lift up your doors, lift up your doors. जान जलाल दा बादशाह आवे सिर तद ऊंचे करो. Refrain, रब खुदावंद बादशाह है ओ जलाल दा बादशाह है. God our Lord is King of glory. He is King of glory. And we are singing on a very mellow tone. Otherwise, if we sing with the rhythms, percussions, with the gusto, and with the jubilant style, how it will go like this. Would you like to try that one? Okay. I will do the drumming. Now, same melody with the jubilant style. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. He is King of glory. ऊंचे करो सिर दरवाजे ऊंचे हो सब दरो. ऊंचे करो सिर दरवाजे ऊंचे हो सब दरो. जान जलाल दा बादशाह आवे सिर तद ऊंचे करो. रब खुदावंद बादशाह है ओ जलाल दा. Lord our God, Lord our Lord is King of glory. He is King of glory. Now, have you seen the difference? Now imagine with the high-pitched rhythms of people with 100, 200, and singing with this emotional, charged understanding that they are in the presence of the divine court. How's that looks like? Next slide, please. Thank you. So this tune composed in a raga, which is called raga Bilawal. And Bilawal is like a major scale in the Western notation. And it's the sweetest, the most compassionate. Okay, I'm using this one. Okay, I'll move this way. So the most sweetest, most compassionate, and best loved raga in Indian music. That's again Dutch musicologists find out about this raga. This raga is used to express devotion and deep love. The Bilawal family is still used to sing Sufi song by the Muslim and folk songs also in a cultural setting. And it is also famous for light film songs. So you can see that the same raga used in various settings by the different, that's a shared music culture in that context. So one video was there, and I don't have time to show you that video, but I can send in the link, and that was the same one with one Pakistani singer based in England. So he produced, and he depicts a wedding scene with this, the traditional wedding, when a groom with the whole brass band going to the bride's house in a traditional way with the fully turban and a new dress up and the whole community going with him. So he depicted that same psalm in his video with a whole procession and a brass band to show and express that how this psalm for the community is depicting the Lamb's wedding, and we are all invited into the wedding feast of the Lamb. So you can see that how they are imagining the Messianic hope, even they are marginalized community, but how singing these psalms, evoking their identity and their Messianic hope. Not only in the videos, but also when they are singing in body and spirit in the congregation. So that's a powerful imagination. Well, so culturally, congregations sing this tune without any interlude. There is no interlude, just stanza to stanza. They're jumping and singing. And then it is sung as a whole piece of music that creates space for the congregation to dwell in the words they have just sung. Gives the sense of royal wedding as posed by that singer in his video. It invites everyone to the banquet and welcomes those who accept that invitation. During my research for my PhD program, when I interviewed one Muslim scholar, I said, have you ever read Psalm? He said, no, but I had a chance to attend one service. And the most important and the attractive thing for me, when they were singing Psalm 136, I said, really, do you still remember? He said, yes. So I was not expecting that answer from him, actually. But anyway. So Bailey, his name was Bailey, produced a music video of this traditional tune in his small village of Pakistan with the brass band to express the wedding, as I mentioned earlier. Anyway, next slide, please. Yes, okay. Now, so that was the traditional tune. Now let's come to the contemporary tune. So contemporary tune, we just sang the first part, Badshah, Badshah, you remember? Badshah, 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 Badshah. So that is contemporary tune in a raga Bhim Palasi. Now what is this raga? So raga Bhim Palasi, so how much ragas you learned today? I gave you one afternoon raga, okay? The one Sharanam, Sharanam, okay, Meherban. The third one Bilawal with the traditional. And now Bhim Palasi. So what is Bhim Palasi? I'll show you that one also. Contemporary tune is composed raga Bhim Palasi, one of the 10 significant families of Indian raga. So raga Bhim Palasi is for the very late afternoon, when the sky is red and all the animals are basking in the last sunshine. one Indian music scholar find out about that raga. The melodic structure of Bhim plus C contain a pentahexatonic style, 5 notes ascending and 7 notes descending in the melody. Most often this raga is used for singing folk and Sufi poetry. The raga mood is sad and represents the expectation of a reunion after the absence of a beloved one. This expression raises hope and expectancy to console desire and longing during the length of separation, pain, and loneliness. Parousia, Christ has not yet come. The church is waiting, the ecclesia, the bride is waiting. So that's how this raga helped the Messianic hope. Next one, please. So this song, again, this structure, melodic structure, is also congregation sing verse 1 in unison and repeat it twice. The tune and text have a sense of prestige and prominence. It starts with the repetition of word Badshah and the introduction. The tune is circular and responds to the phrase, God our Lord is King of glory, so which evokes unimaginable strength and power. The practice of unison singing gives singing space to everyone. So that's why in our context, mostly people doesn't sing in the Western harmonies, especially the youngsters, those who are more attracted to the Western harmonized framework. But the original stuff is, the local is unison. By the time the text proclaims, so since the second part of each verse comes full, okay, this is the structure. Would you like to sing that structure? Let's try. Okay, please come. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Badshah, 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 Badshah. Rab Khudavand Badshah hai, O Jalal da Badshah hai. Rab Khudavand Badshah hai, O Jalal da Badshah. God our Lord, God our Lord is King of glory. He is King of glory. Once again, God our Lord is King of glory. He is King of glory. Badshah, Badshah. He is King, He is King, He is King, He is King. Now the first stanza. ऊंचे करो सिर दरवाजे ओ, ऊंचे हो सब दारो. Lift up your heads, lift up your gates. Lift up your doors, lift up your doors. Jaan Jalal da Badshah aave, sir tad unche karo. That the King of glory come in, lift up your ancient door. Badshah, Badshah, Badshah. Badshah, 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 Badshah. God is King, He is King, He is King, He is King. Thank you very much. Okay. So you have seen that two different structures, same text, same thing, but one is more traditional, one is more contemporary style. However, if you see the videos which has been produced, they are more rich and more kind of grandeur. Next slide, please. So how these tunes relate with the identity, Christian identity. Number one, we all know that the liturgical use of Psalm 24 in a congregational singing celebrates the people's corporate identity and united activity in worship. That is what liturgical theologians find out. Currently, Christians in Pakistan are surrounded by a complex society. So, first, the two-edged sword of the blasphemy law and institutional discrimination instill fear. They are living amidst fear. Number two, they practice their faith amidst Islam and Hinduism. So they are in between two powerful traditional religious tradition. Islamic religious practices both influence and are overwhelmed by a Hindu worldview. Third, they are living in the periphery of the society in Pakistan, facing severe discrimination, persecution, and marginalization. So living in these three factors, which are fear factors, this psalm embodies a protest that expresses their dire reality as a marginalized minority group and gives voice to a contextual vision of peace, justice, and equality. The raga-based tunes assert that divine disclosure occurs among the marginalized, an affirmation and celebration of the view that the people are standing in the throne room of God. These variations evoke the relationship of identity. Next slide, please. How it relates with the Messianic hope. Psalm 24 is well suited for a festal procession, particularly for a liturgical and ritual purpose. So that's why if we have a celebrative service, whether it's a Christmas or Palm Sunday or any outdoor festival, it's incomplete without singing this psalm. So that's the integral part. For Christians, it is vastly important to recognize Christ as the glorious, perfect King and the Lord of hosts in the Zabur, in the Psalms. The imperial nature of the text supports the form of praise. One of the reasons Psalm 24, 7-10 has influenced such a broad array of congregants is the universal subject of the kingdom of heaven and eschatological hope. It emphatically inspired the theme of the already but not yet reign of God. The Psalm's imaginative spectrum is full of court, gates, kings, doors, army, and guard imagery of the kingdom and is associated with majestic and royal occasions. The musical setting gives hope that there is a distinctly local, profoundly contextual vision of a kingdom in which God's reign is articulated in the local musical language. The local form of the ancient song is wedded to ancient raga for a new meaning and a new creation. The joyful music of Psalm 24:7 transformed the grievances, anger, and resentment into a victorious celebration to face the fury of persecution and injustice. Next slide, please. Missional engagement. How that with the mission? Well, we all know that since the last 40, 50 years, inculturation and critical contextualization gained attention as a missional tool for cross-cultural mission participant. Lamin Sane's book, Translating the Message, includes the indigenous expression of music to translate to local culture. Christian anthropologist proposes an approach going beyond contextualization, while communication consultants aim to translate the cultural text. And what is this cultural text? Defined as music, art, storytelling, and dance. And what is that for? It's just to communicating the gospel. Translating Psalms into cultural text fosters faithful friendship among Muslims. Randall Bradley asserts, Christ came to redeem the world, and Christ can redeem any music also. Concerning the raga-based musical setting for singing Psalm 24, During the 1970s, most the psalms and hymns were sung and played by professional Muslim singers. That's interesting part. That Pakistan, by the way, it's a unique context where the most famous gospel singers are Muslims. How that come? Actually, right after Second Vatican Council, 62-65, when the Catholic, the Vatican announces the localization of the music, that's where actually the radios and recordings started, and that's when the Pakistan's Catholic Christian and the dioceses and the archdioceses, they grant commissions to produce songs and sung by the professional playback singers in Pakistan. And because Christians were not trained in that art, that's why they hired professionally non-Christian singers, generally Muslims. Although there were Hindus, but they didn't hire Hindus, because Muslim, at least they share the monotheistic concept, and they have idea actually what is the majesty of the true one God, which we have a different perspective. Anyway, so that's interesting history in that part of the world. This participation is an inclusive approach to the present Messianic kingdom. Singing Punjabi Psalms keep the gates and doors of the kingdom open with the hope that all the world comes to Christ the King. Next slide, please. Conclusions. So the book of Psalm is a common heritage of a divine song that can be used as a bridge for witness between Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Sikhs. As a pastor of an Indo-Pak Pakistani church in Southern California, I have baptized Hindus. There are Sikh converts in our congregation. I am also engaging Sikh seekers. They are coming to church. And there are already second, third generation, fourth generation believers also. So, and what is the main shared attraction to them is singing psalms, congregational songs when they sing. Even one kirtan player who play in the Sikh temple, in the Gurdwara, because we have a linguistic shared culture of a music and the language. So he used to come to our choir practice. He says that when he come to choir practice, sing with us, he feel at home. Although he is a religious singer in his own temple. So you can see that what God is doing. Then contextualized psalmody has been an important part of the Pakistani worship experience. So not only for the witness, but also for the worship experience. The Sur-Sangam of text and tune, the confluence of poetical and musical art, conveys deep meaning to the local populace, become a means of spiritual expression. The vernacular and victorious vocabulary, local raga-based emotive and melodic structure, and upbeat, jubilant rhythmic pattern make the Punjabi Psalm 24/7 the most widespread of the liturgical psalm in the Indian-Pakistani context. So these are my conclusions. I would like to end with another raga and a melody which I would like to invite you to sing with me. Are you ready? So this is our upcoming project. I'm working on this song. So this is a global missional song based on Isaiah's vision, where he see the vision and then he pray to that, by your holy fire, touch my lips, O Lord. And then I have added verses from the Great Commission, Matthew chapter 28, verse 16. I'll go to the end of the world. But this is the refrain part, which I am trying to recruiting various linguistic spectrum that they may sing in their own language, at least one line, or speak. Then we can project in the video various. Would you like to sing that phrase? Okay, let's do it. So first sing in Urdu, and then English, okay? Can you read the Urdu text? अपनी आग से मेरे लबों को छू ले ए खुदा. And English translation is, by your holy fire, touch my lips, O Lord.
अपनी आग से मेरे लबों को छू ले ऐ खुदा, छू ले ऐ खुदा.
Can we sing?
अपनी आग से मेरे लबों को छू ले ऐ खुदा, छू ले ऐ खुदा.
English?
By your holy fire, touch my lips, O Lord.
Repeat.
Touch my lips, O Lord, by your holy fire.
Can we do it again?
By your holy fire, touch my lips, O Lord. Touch my lips, O Lord, by your holy fire.
It's again upbeat. It's not like this. Okay? Because I don't have my keyboard or the rhythm pattern with me. So otherwise, if you want to sing in the real rhythmic pattern, then that will be go like this.
मेरे लबों को छू ले ऐ खुदा, छू ले ऐ खुदा. By your holy fire, touch my lips, O Lord. Touch my lips, O Lord, by your holy fire. अपनी आग से छू ले ऐ खुदा, अपनी आग से.
So this is the missional charge. Lord, touch my lips that I may reach to the nations. Thank you very much. Yes, any questions, any? Comment, question, response? Yes. Yes, there are a lot. Even, why not you can share, or you can share what you experienced while I was teaching you, when we were learning this song. Would you like to take a mic? Yes.
So my experience was, first of all, it was a rhythm issue. In the United States, we're taught downbeat. With this music, it's not the downbeat, it's the offbeat. And so suddenly you're having to, change how that kind of thinking. I think the other thing that we all experienced too was the notation where, as Brian said, it sounded like it's not in tune, but it is in tune because it's part of the characteristics of the music of that period. Again, it's a matter of being able to shift, in this case, in a couple of hours, from what we've been taught as Americans musically to a different tradition.
So we have Emmanuel also. Emmanuel, you are a musician also. So what you experienced when I was trying to communicate Indian oral microtones, and which we call shrutis in the sur. Sur is the main single note, and then the shrutis in the slides in there. Like we were singing that one, which one? Badshah, Badshah, Badshah. So this is not written in the note. That slide is not there. That should become because of, if you are trained in a way that is the requirement of that raga, that you not go like straight ta da 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 da. You have to come like ta da ta ta da. So that's the requirement of that particular raga. That's what I was saying. Emmanuel?
Actually, Tom already mentioned most of it, but yesterday when we were having a session with Eric, my brain was struggling with what I see, because I'm looking at, okay, it's a different thing with what I heard from Eric. And I said, yeah, I'll just play it by ear. So probably that's how I did it. But of course, Tom and Brian also mentioned about the microtones or even the quarter tones. Now I'm giving the table to you. I'm going to ask you about it. Is there a way or a method that is circulating around on how to teach, understanding the scale, the raga and all? So I've been wondering about it. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, well, that's going to the pedagogical system, that how you learn in your context. The Indian or the Pakistani, that context is a Guru Shiksha model. The pedagogical system is not like you go to classroom and learn something. You have a course book or something. No, you stay with your Guru. It's just like a discipleship model in the early first century with the Jesus Christ, okay? There was not seminaries, there was nothing. You have to live with your teacher while he's walking, talking, teaching, eating, speaking, whatever you try to do, then you imitate that. But while you are imitating, you are now so mature and grow already in that practice that you add your own improvisation now. The same thing with the musical pedagogy. We don't have course books. We don't have these kind of classroom models to learn this one. I learned from my grandfather as a home. He was a Hindu convert guru, musical guru. So I learned with him while I stay in his village. As a city boy, I spent 2.5 years in a small village while doing the small chores with the buffaloes and the water and the morning food for them, and then the evening and morning lessons. So you have to be with a guru to learn these kind of things. Yes?
Dr. Sarwar, there is a question online. Lisa asks, can you envision an interfaith meeting and sharing of music, including Muslims, Jews, and Christians, within the context of a future hymn society conference?
Yes, we can do that easily, because I have already done in Pakistan. And I have done Pakistan, I have done in California. So we can do here, and I have very good musician, Muslim friends, although Muslim scholars also, those who can talk about and those who can come on an interfaith conversation about the music, especially Sufis, the Sufi music. Oh man, you will be blown away by the understanding and the depth of how the shared music culture can reach out where our cognitive, systematic mind cannot go.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
No worries. I was just wondering, as regards the practice of the intonation in this music and the microtonality we talk about, I was wondering whether it might be influenced by certain Western elements that make their way in later, like the harmonium, which of course is in 12-tone equal temperament. Just like to unpack that.
Thank you. That's an important question because we are dealing with the two different music cultures, with the two different approaches to the music. Like Aitolo mentioned that the Western is a tonal approach. You have to be with tone, and each note is very clear. There are emotions involved somehow, but when you are a composer or a performer, it depends on what is the purpose of the music, where you are going to use that. So in the Indian musical context, as I mentioned, with the aesthetic theory and also the understanding of the raga. Raga is a scale, yes, which we can compare with the Western chords system or a scale, like a scale. If I say C major, suppose that we say it's a C major, and when we go C major, see da 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 da. Okay, now if I'm going with the C major with my way, okay. You want to see how I will go on the piano? Okay. So I'm going from C. Same scale, okay? C major in the Western. Now, the same scale in Indian musicology is Eman Kalyan. It's Raga Kalyan, Shuddh Kalyan. It has also local name, So it's a C major in the Western, but it's a Shuddh Kalyan in the Indian musicology. And how can I differentiate and say that this is Shuddh Kalyan? So it will go like this. Ni re ga. Re ga pa ga re ni re sa pa dha pa ma ga re sa ni dha ni re ga re sa pa ma pa ni dha ni sa ni dha pa ma ga re Re sa ni re ga re sa. So same scale, same note, but when it moves to
Sorry.
yeah. So same scale, same notes, but when I'm presenting in Indian context, I have to follow certain, which you are saying, connotation, intonation, to express in a way that my audience understand, oh, yes, he is singing Kalyan, Eman Kalyan, yes. Oh, he's singing Bilawal, which we sang the first psalm, traditional tune. Rab Khuda Vand Baaj. Not this one, this was the second one. The first one was, Rab Khuda Vand Baadshah hai, O Jalal da Baadshah hai. Same scale. Same major, but when I'm singing, I'm going through inside and outside, So that's the cultural approach to the same scale, different.
Please join me in thanking Dr. Sarwar for his wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you at the next session. Thank you.